The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Faster by, it's 7 minutes past 12. Wednesday lunchtime's Mannin Line on Manx Radio, live from Douglas in the Isle of Man. Well, the Isle of Man could reach, as you heard in the news, 500,000 visitors a year by 2032. That's 7 short years away. 200 years of the Isle of Man railways will drive interest. So what do you think we could... you heard Deborah Heather, Chief Exec of Visit Isle of Man, in the news. What could we do? Well, do we have a quick win that we could do to make people absolutely impressed the moment they walk off the boat or out of arrivals at Ronaldsway? What can we do to make those? I mean, I think we get about 300,000 anyway, so we're talking about an extra 200,000 on top. So what can we do you think? A quick fix, a quick win, what they call low-hanging fruit, to make our tourism offering or Visit Isle of Man offering just that little bit better. Have you got any thoughts? Come on, we don't need a committee on Mannin Line. I just need your opinion by calling 66 13 68, text 166 177, WhatsApp 166 177, or email studio@manxradio.com. David's first with us today. Hi, David.
Hi, Randy. And I sent you an email with some details on which...
I spotted that. Yeah.
I asked a public question last Monday from our chairman at Oakland District Commissioner. So this is all in the public domain, which tells a story really about camper vans and where the commissioners, the local authority who's responsible for doing things for the community, wanted to, and they took consultation with residents and so forth, but a 1824 zone round the tennis courts there, where we have, and you know for a fact, this may be of interest to other people around the island too, where we have vehicles which are just stuck there for 6 months, 7 months, and we've had them, the last one was a year, but that now has been crushed and gone. So it goes where the local authority, and I'm sorry for taking up people's time, but it's fairly serious as far as I'm concerned, is because we're representing the community here. It's to do with Belgravia Road anyway. That the commissioners had a meeting on the 5th of February 2024, so well over a year ago. It was noted that due to the DOI's reluctance to implement the restriction, the board requested that a meeting be arranged with the Minister, Tim Krugel, so it shows you how far that's gone back. No meeting was held with Mr. Krugel, so there was no commitment from him as the Minister. But we arranged one on the 3rd of March 2025 with the current Minister for the DOI, Michelle Haywood. So during the meeting, right, the implementation of parking restrictions in Belgravia Road are currently within the department's schedule of work, so it must be on the list. It was highlighted the request would be most likely to require residents parking permits. Wrong, Minister, you're definitely wrong on that one. It's a zone which, if you're parking over a certain time between, it's an 1824, so that if you're parking longer than that, it becomes an offence, an automatic offence. And therefore, the permit restrictions will not be implemented on this road. Now, that's the government telling the local authority that they're not going to do something. So further on, I'm sorry this is so long, but
no, go ahead. It's as you say, this is important because it represents government versus a local authority.
It is, and that's the issue, Andy. That is definitely the issue. So the DOI in 2024 proposed to implement parking restrictions. Remember that survey that was done by Mr. Robinson?
Oh yeah, whatever happened to that?
Well, they're going to. This is the new minister. Is to consult with the local authorities again in 2025. No date, no time. Don't know when that's going to happen. And it says if these, which we're not aware of at the minute, these regulations for the future are implemented, this may resolve issues in that particular area or the other parts on the Isle of Man. So, Andy, where are we? nothing. A year's worth of work has gone down the pan because the minister's now saying she's not going to do something. But the local authority said this should happen for the community to make sure that vehicles are not just left lying about all the time. We wouldn't mind if they moved. I wouldn't mind if they moved, but they don't. They just lie there. We've got 7 the older type camper vans. At least 2 of them are on their knees. One's in near the Catholic Church there in Ridgeway Road. There's another one there blocking, and nobody seems to want to do anything. This is my real concern, and now we don't have any police in Onken, so we can't even ask them to go and visit or make an assessment what the DOI used to do in Bruce Hannay's time, right? He would get the vehicle inspector out and say, this vehicle is not fit for the highway, and it gets picked up and crushed.
And the thing is that this represents, and to the people who own these vehicles, I'm sorry for saying this, but this is a low-level nuisance. And the people who own those vehicles know exactly what they're doing because they probably know the law, and they know they can park there in perpetuity, forever, if they want to. So they know that, but it's a nuisance for people who live around there, and it's a niggle for people.
It is, and the major thing too, we have a wonderful park there, Onken Park. Only over the weekend there was lots of people, kids, families and whatever, playing there. And with the 7 vehicles we've got lying there, if we had them removed, we could probably get another 14, 20 spaces on the highway.
I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to think, apart from Silverdale, I don't know whether the Silverdale boating lake's working, but I mean, Onken Boating Lake must be, apart from Silverdale, it's the only one on the Isle of Man, isn't it? I think so. Silverdale and Onken are the only boating lakes.
Well, you've got to get Ramsey in there, because don't forget the Murick.
Yes.
I remember.
Pardon to everybody in Ramsey.
Yeah, because I remember my brother, when you're kids and you go out on these school trips and whatever like that, I remember my brother, and it's probably about 3 foot deep, actually falling in off one of the boats, because don't forget they had yachts at one time, canoes at one time, and everybody, when you're young, you think you're well into it, aren't you? But you get wet.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that
right.
Those boating lakes, I mean, to children, those boating lakes are pure magic, because they don't care that it's only 3 feet deep. You know, they're sailing the ocean as far as they're concerned. So long may it continue.
Yeah.
All right.
So the biggest thing I've got in the future with, because the municipal association is coming towards their AGM shortly, and there'll be a change of person at the head of the table, because I know Vivian will be listening, and she'll probably come on and say a few words. I hope she will in the future. Oh, you get a chance to interview her when she does stand down, because she's not really standing for the local authority there. So we'll have a new head on that. And we need to really push the municipal association. We've already got an agreement on this new Local Government Act, where all the local authorities are having a concern and have sent letters in or sending letters in to each of the MLCs within government, because it's gone past that thing where it's going to be reviewed. But the MLCs can look at the legislation in finer detail. And it's nothing worse than having, because I remember former Chief Minister saying to me, the devil's always in the detail, and you've got to get it right. If you don't get it right, there's holes in it.
Okay.
And we don't want that.
I appreciate that. Thanks for calling today. Good to hear from you. And if you want more information about some of those things that are in the public domain, you can go to Onken District Commissioners, which is onken.org.im. And a very nice website it is too, onken.org.im. So quick fixes then for tourists to make the place look better. Can you text, email and WhatsApp? 557 asked me, was the Manx Rally televised? I didn't. Was it televised? Or maybe somebody's just shot it on video. Anyway, if you're involved in the rally, was it televised? Regarding Mr. Cannon, the Manx London office we were talking about yesterday, Mr. Cannon's right. We're not a UK county, so why pay for somebody or two to have a London jolly at the expense involved? I think you might have the wrong end of the stick. Mr. Cannon was asked about this, and he was just kind of just surmising how much it would cost. They just wondered whether that particular committee, the Cladge committee, wanted to know whether or not we should have someone in Westminster to represent the Isle of Man, so that they don't get hold of the wrong end of the stick. I support David, said Julie in Douglas. I went to Oncombe Park yesterday, couldn't park my car. The place is full of abandoned, rotten camper vans and a horse box. It's very inconsiderate for residents and also to the owners of Oncombe Park. And I suppose if you're playing tennis, it's not nice to look at either. I'd guess that at least 10 car parking spaces are lost due to lazy vehicle owners. Frustrated Julie. That is, have you spotted this? If you're around Oncombe Park, take a look. There are just some old camper vans, abandoned really. DOI, Keith tells me, the DOI has the power to remove abandoned vehicles. All you have to do is report them. Camper vans removed would only equate to 2 extra spaces for vehicles. I know, but if there are 3 camper vans, that's 6, Keith. And does the DOI actually remove abandoned vehicles? I suppose there must be a definition of an abandoned vehicle. Is it one that doesn't have any tax? Well, in that case, that's an offence. Does having 4 flat tyres count? Or a broken exhaust? What constitutes an abandoned vehicle? Because the owner could just say, I've not abandoned it. I go back every so often and check. Wipe the mould off the seats. I often see traffic wardens in Oncombe ticketing vehicles that are a few minutes over the dis time. They just ignore the old untaxed ones. Get back to this. Nobody's told me really who employs the traffic wardens, the parking controllers, whatever they're called these days. Who is that, government or is that local authority? How about creating a stunningly beautiful garden at the airport to greet visitors? When they step outside, it's been a disgrace for years and it doesn't need to cost a fortune, says Brian on 847. And remember, Brian, if the DOI doesn't want to do it, why don't they just put it out to the public and say, we'll form a gardening committee for the airport. Everybody can volunteer, bring their own stuff down and just make the gardens beautiful rather than somewhat neglected. And again, this is not a go at the people who have to maintain the gardens. They just do what they're told. But wouldn't it be nice to have an absolutely stunning... At the moment, our visitors come out of the airport, the doors fly open, and there they are. There's a decrepit bus shelter with a rusting seat. There's black chewing gum all over the pavements, dog ends from the cigarette box, and they look out, and we have a fairly forlorn garden. That's what they have to... And I would imagine Deborah Heather at Visit Isle of Man has spoken about this, because first impressions count. At the moment, our visitors come out of the sea terminal. If they're not driving, they'll walk out of the sea terminal, try and find a bus a couple of 100 yards away, and there's a line of bus stops, or they'll be walking. What do they see? A roundabout, if you like it, the middle of the road, and one forlorn Manx palm inside it. It's hardly inspiring, is it? So what should we do then to make things better as far as tourism's concerned? Here's Robert now. Hi, Robert.
Hi, I have no eggs today, but I'm just looking at the Australian elections that are coming up, and they've got all the dates today, so it's media blackout on the BDC. Yeah. And it makes me think of places I'll never go to.
You'll never go to Australia?
Well, I'll just never make it there. I mean, why would you? I mean, it's just one of those places. They have scorpions and pet traps and all the rest of it down there.
And spiders and snakes as well.
That's right, yeah, they do. They have all the... Anyway, they've got media blackout on the BBC because Parliament TV isn't up today.
Oh, right, okay, good. And no omelette today either, Robert.
I could do with more eggs.
Oh, right, okay.
I'm going to head down to Tesco. I'm going to head down to my HSBC account now and get some more eggs.
All right. Take care.
And cheese.
Take care. A cheese omelette. I could just do with one of those. 21 minutes past 12. A stunningly beautiful garden at the airport that's the way to go. Make the sea terminal more welcoming. Bring the horse trams to the end of the promenade. What a novel idea. Why didn't someone think of that before? Here we are at the home of the Halfway Horse Tram and the Horseway Half Tram. I don't know which sounds better. We're the radar capital of the world. We're the home of the Halfway Horse Tram. What should we do to make things. We should make our visitors feel happy and impressed with our fantastic heritage, says Ruth. Have the Welcome Centre open 7 days a week. Have you walked through the sea terminal recently? I love that retro look to the ceiling, by the way. Now they stripped the ceiling tiles back. It's very good. I don't know whether it's our version of a Banksy or it's actually meant to be like that. Howard's with us now. Hi, Howard.
Hello, Andy. Yeah, just saying about the Halfway. It's basically the only one in the world that's a public transport.
I just wonder. I mean, why is it only you and me that know this? I just wonder why there are people higher up who can't see that the word unique means something, and to be unique in 2025 is absolutely going some. There aren't many things that are unique in the world, and we've got one.
And most of the radio stations here were broadcasting the fact that one member of the staff has been there for 50 years at recent. That was a huge thank you to that man. But there they are. They've only got half the horse trams running.
Well, you just wonder. The fact is they allocated the money and then it went somewhere else, and it's as though
but nobody knows where.
Well, it's as though they think that nobody noticed.
Well, this is exactly what I was just saying to Chris. I remember going back to your motorhomes, which could be part of the fact that the place is becoming scruffy. The Highway Board, as it was, DOI, keep changing their names, they would come round if there was a vehicle somewhere that had been reported as seemingly abandoned. They would put a notice on it to that. This vehicle appears to have been abandoned and you have X number of weeks or whatever it is to remove it. And if they didn't remove it, it was then taken away and it was put on Ratcliffe's old farm down there at Santon by the Oatland Road. Now, I think, I'll stand corrected on this, I think vehicles like that now are taken up to the north of the island and crushed. But that's what was happening to these vehicles. They were taken to this farm, kept for a precise period of time, and if the people who owned the vehicle didn't claim it, shift it, or pay whatever it was, that vehicle would go then to be crushed. And I know of a couple of vehicles that were, and one was a motorhome up where I'm living, and it was parked and abandoned, and the school was complaining about it, and it was eventually lifted and taken away. And another motorhome was taken away. So the ability to do this still stands within the DOI, but why are they not implementing it?
Well, you would think if they started doing it, word would go around. All they need to do is to get rid of half a dozen of them, and the word would go around, and they would self-regulate. They'd be self-disciplining. People would do it. They wouldn't think they could get away with it. As it is at the moment, people know they can get away.
Well, one thought, you have to have a habitation. I don't know what's applicable to the Isle of Man, a habitation certificate to own a motorhome, to go through checks, annual or otherwise, like an MOT, where that vehicle is safe for habitation. And if it's not safe for habitation, you can't use it as a motorhome. So then that's probably why a lot of these vehicles are lying around. But if that's the case, they should be taken away, warning given to the owners, and it's not as if it's obscure. They'll know exactly who owns them, and then just shred them. And that, as you say rightly, that will stir things up and people have second thoughts about it.
Well, they did a while ago. Do you remember Saddle Road, just by Kirby Garden Centre, that's got a big canopy of trees? There were vehicles parked there for ages and ages, but they redesignated that road now, so you can't park there for, I think, more than 24 hours. But one time, there were about half a dozen abandoned vehicles on Saddle Road. They changed the designation, and people, they went away. So it can happen when they want it to happen.
Well, one of the things you have to watch on this instance, if they disconnect the prop shaft from the engine, it's no longer a motorised vehicle, a motor-driven vehicle. It's a trailer. And that, I've been told by the police itself, that vehicle then no longer becomes a motor-driven vehicle because the connection's not there between the shaft and the gearbox.
But that's
whether that legality is still in standing, I do not know.
Yeah, I mean, that's not common sense, is it? Because that, by definition, somebody's done that on purpose to get around the law.
Exactly. But they've dumped these things on purpose anyway, so it's 6 of one and half a dozen the other.
Yeah.
But you were saying about they're going to have to. Yesterday, I listened to you saying about the mines and everything, and we actually have the pool vase. You got the Laxey wheel.
Yeah.
You got various other aspects of all, and they're all part of our heritage. They might have been not what we call complementary to life today, with the lead and the various bits and pieces. And I bet you there's still an awful lot of houses throughout the island here with lead piping for the water.
Oh, crikey, yes.
Old houses built in the 1800s. But these are all part, the Laxey wheel, etc., they're all part of our heritage. And collectively, we have, quite literally, on a very small island, a living museum. I don't know if you've ever been to it, the Ulster Folk Museum.
No, but I've heard about it.
It's amazing. But what they do, they take it, say they have the likes of Chester Street, an old buildings, houses, etc., all part of the history. It's a very expensive way of doing it, but they would take them down and rebuild them in the Ulster Folk Museum. And I've been to it a couple of times, and it's amazing. And I don't know what's there now, because they've been adding to it continuously. In fact, the flying bedstead, the original flying bedstead was there. That was pre-Harrier jets. And that actual flying bedstead was in that museum. It's all in different sections. Agriculture, all various parts, farming, everything. And you go around, it'll take you 2 or 3 days to go around it. But we have that here as an island. That is our history, it's our legacy, and it is what people want to see. Let the Eurosport, as they call themselves, or whatever they call themselves these days, let them be more active on that, and then you might get your 200,000 people.
Okay, thanks, Howard. We appreciate your call.
Take care.
Good to hear from you. Oh, and talking of mines, by the way, I was interested. Somebody sent me a link about a mine that's been abandoned in Wales for years and years and years. The Cloghouse and David mine. It's located in a national park. And it was flooded. It was abandoned years ago because it was a gold mine. They were searching for rare Welsh gold. And when it closed, gold was $300 per troy ounce. 31.1 grams, 300. It's now over 3,000. So they're thinking of reopening the mine. Wow. I don't think ours had gold down it. It was very impressive and worth a lot at the time. It was lead, but I don't think there's any gold down our mines. But can you imagine if there were?
The best island journeys don't always follow a straight line. They wind along our cliffs, curve through quiet lanes, sometimes to somewhere completely unexpected. At HSBC, our relationship managers are here to help you navigate life's journey and its changes, plan for the short and long term, and make the most of every opportunity along the way. Because financial freedom isn't just about where you are, it's about where you're going. Pop in branch or search HSBC online. HSBC, opening up a world of opportunity.
In the Isle of Man, HSBC Bank plc is licensed by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
At EVF service stations, you can fuel yourself as well as your vehicle. Hot and cold food to go, chilled drinks, and even lottery tickets too. Great choice and value to make life more convenient. Fill up, fuel up with Ellen Vannin Fuels. Visit us at evf.co.im. Stocks and offers may vary between locations.
At the Tracy Bell Clinic, our incredible injectable day is back. We've been perfecting this range of facial treatments since 2004, so let us help transform your look for younger-looking skin with our most popular complete treatment packages for face from £450. Choose your dermal filler, choose your treatment to reduce the appearance of wrinkles, and choose the areas you want treated. The Tracy Bell Clinic, celebrating 30 years in business, helping you to be better.
Do you know, Dave, the Q Plus counter always has just what I need. Whatever plumbing job I'm working on, whether a state-of-the-art bathroom or the latest heating system, Q Plus always help. With extensive supplies, friendly, knowledgeable service and great prices, it really is the one-stop shop for trade and DIY customers alike. And if they don't have what you want in stock, they'll find it for you. See for yourself. Just take a look at Q Plus on Facebook.
It's a special Easter broadcast this weekend from Radio Caroline North, live on board the Ross Revenge. We'll hear from Captain Stephen Carter, who tells us what Caroline cod was all about in Ramsey Bay in the 1960s. And we have 3 elegant Martin's Easter hampers to give away. A broadcast is sponsored by Feature Story News, and it all starts Good Friday morning at 10 on 1368 AM, DAB and online, Radio Caroline North.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Obviously, that chief exec's not old enough to remember the 50s, 60s and 70s when people were fighting for deck chairs on the beaches. The island is undiscovered and new. To attract visitors, the government shouldn't be doing things on the cheap. Why don't they just finish the horse tram line and get the Peggy back? And that was WhatsApp 352. And 528 says, Handy, how about the horse trams to at least the sea terminal to start with? And Alex said there was an English-registered classic VW camper parked on Laxey Prom for 3 months. Last summer, the steering wheel was removed and the owner went back to England and left it parked there. It gives all camper vans a bad name. Now I see a DOI motorhome parking space in Laxey Shore Road car park. Why does it have one when it's the size of a large car? The owner clearly has no intention of paying Manx tax, as it was re-taxed in England in November. And Julian said, are we talking about motorhomes or camper vans? It's an important distinction, as my 2-berth camper van has the footprint of an M1 Ford Focus. Important distinction, camper vans or motorhomes. And Ken's on now. Hi, Ken.
Afternoon. I was wondering if anybody knows whether the Edward Pier walkway is still a temporary solution or is that permanent? Because I came back on Saturday when it was raining.
Yeah.
When I went out on the Monday, there were 2 gaps in the overhead walkway. When I came back Saturday, one was back on, and the other one was open to the elements. And it's shambolic. Now that the Manxman's up and running, you've got this good-looking ship. When you get off at Douglas, you have to walk through this sort of, I don't know, looks a temporary structure.
I've always wondered about that as well, Ken. And I've been to other places where, they have moving walkways and they have escalators. Now we're asking people to, walk quite a long way. And
not the direct route, because you have to turn left.
Yes,
to come back right round. Yeah. I don't know what the obstacle is, whether it's something to do with tying up the boat, the ship. But it just seems a bit, well, especially when we're trying to attract people. See, it's a nice boat, fair enough, but when it runs on time.
Well, it doesn't seem
that
things like that don't seem to have been thought out beforehand. It's what they call in that sort of that world pre-handling things. You get things right before they go wrong.
And also to get on and off the Manxman, you've got to climb up quite a steep. Well, it's steepish. I know they lay on, but that's in the open air as well. So if it's raining, you have to walk down in the open air with Evesham now. Of course, they've got the gangway working and the proper ramp, and it's a covered one. So I'm wondering if anybody knows whether that's the end of the Edward Pier or they got plans.
Well, if anybody does, then if they could get in touch, that'd be terrific. But anyway, what did you think of the boat, Ken?
Oh, well, I think it's a wonderful boat, except it's not for the Irish Sea, I don't think. I've said this before. I'd rather have got there, an hour earlier than being in comfort, cabins and things like that. No, except the corridors, of course, are quite wide, which is all right. But if you come on, in bad weather, if you want to stagger from one side to the other, there's a bit of a reach.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for that. Good to hear from you today. It's 24 minutes before 1. Tidy up or do something with Lord Street bus station. It looks absolutely awful, says this correspondent. This is 963. If we do get people, it will be interesting to know, and I know Deborah Heather has to put a sheen on things. She has to put a positive view of this because that's her job to do it. But, I mean, surely people inside government know that our visitors aren't blind. They can see, and they maybe go elsewhere and see that other people do tidy things up. The Lord Street bus station is not really fit, is it? I suppose it does the job in that there are bus stops, buses come, buses go, people get on and off, and that's that. But it doesn't look pristine. It doesn't look inviting, does it? You wouldn't say, if you've got half an hour to spend in Douglas, let's go to the Lord Street bus station, shall we? Once upon a time, the Lord Street bus station had facilities, had a shop. Unsworth's was there years ago. It had something. Now it's something that you just have to do because it's there. And more on these these darned motorhomes and camper vans. Sorry, the distinction points being made. I've long thought that outside the airport and the sea terminal, why don't we have a huge Manx flag on the roundabout so people are under no illusion that when they come to the Isle of Man, they've left the UK. And they're in the Isle of Man, and it's not in the UK. Stick a big flag there. Can anybody tell me the law on zigzags by zebra crossings, says Jeff. I always thought, said in the highway code, you don't park on a zigzag because it blocks your view of the zebra crossing. So why do people park on them, says Jeff. I'm assuming they either don't know or they couldn't care less, Jeff. But they are breaking the law. You're not allowed to park on a zigzag approaching a zebra crossing. There are loads of abandoned vehicles left in the B&Q car park for months. They have notes on them from B&Q that they'll be removed within a month if not collected. Does it happen, though? 223, does that happen? Alf Cannon confirmed on Mannin Line about a month ago that the DIY has no plans to reinstate the horse tram line to the sea terminal. It's a travesty. Well, what he said was no immediate plans to do that. Remember, there is an election September next year. I wonder if any of the candidates will put the restoration of the horse tram, the historic, unique horse tram, back to the sea terminal in their manifesto, especially if they're standing in Douglas. There's an old gold mine in the yard of the electric railway. The entrance is near the back. Maybe we should reopen that. I'm not sure if much was ever found. If we dig a little deeper, we may hit the jackpot. I'm not joking, though, when I said yesterday, can you imagine if somebody somewhere found lithium down one of our mines? I'm not suggesting it's there. I'm just, riffing, as it were. But if lithium, one of the world's most wanted elements, were found, what would happen? Would you welcome it? And gold. So, if they're reopening this Welsh gold mine, you never know, do you? And gold, by the way, thank you, my financial correspondent, 614, says me, gold is now $3,298.32 to $3,298.32 per troy ounce. Wow. I must check my portfolio. There's an old motorhome in Lancaster Road, Douglas, hasn't moved for 3 years. It's taxed as a veteran vehicle, i.e. tax duty is £20, but it is unroadworthy. The authorities are just sitting on their hands and collecting their salary with nothing to do about the issue, says John. Send me a photo, John, would you? What sort of state is it in? I mean, the way you can always tell if something has been abandoned, look at the tyres. Is the rubber starting to perish? Because if the rubber's going, they're not bothered about the tyres. It would indicate it has been abandoned. We got threatened by the DOI to move a not abandoned trailer from a private car park next to our house, citing it was illegal to leave an unhitched trailer on a public highway. Seems the DOI can act when they want, says Maggie. It was a private car park. It's nothing to do with them, is it, Maggie? If it was your trailer... why is nobody kicking off about the NHS tax levy? Says 854. Just give me a bit more, would you, 854, or call 66 13 68. What's your opinion? If somebody buys a motorhome and can't park it on their driveway, says Carol, motorhome owner, if they can't park it on their driveway, they must use a motorhome storage site like they do abroad. The government owns lots of land and it could be making a good amount of money to keep these vehicles in store, says Carol, motorhome owner. Well, you think straight away, there's a lot of space where Summerland used to be. There are some vehicles parked there, but there's masses of space. Perhaps and that's an idea for government then, a motorhome storage unit. If the vehicles are unroadworthy but taxed, the DOI should stop taxing them year on year. Then they can surely be dealt with, says Gaz. Well, the boss of Visit Isle of Man, Deborah Heather, says we can reach our long-term tourism target sooner than we think. They're aiming for 500,000 visitors annually by 2032. There was a new marketing campaign launched late last summer focusing on the unique stories, culture and folklore. This year, of course, there's a series of anniversaries, including 200 years of motive steam power, expected to drive further interest. This is Deborah Heather from Visit Isle of Man.
To be honest, the island is pretty much undiscovered. That's been half the opportunity for us. It's a new place to come to. We've got Southern Europe that's boiling hot at the moment, and people don't want to travel.
So your predecessors have been missing opportunities.
I think that's a harsh thing to say. I just think the timing's right for us, and we've got lots of opportunities out there. People travel in a different way post-COVID now. They want opportunities closer to home, more convenient opportunities, and actually cooler ones are more attractive. Cool travel is cool.
130 years, I think, the Snaefell Mountain Railway. Is that going to be a draw?
It's going to be a draw, and this year is the 200th anniversary of all railways, so it's a massive thing for us to try and promote to lots of different types of rail enthusiasts. So it's not unique to us, but we have our own celebrations of various different things, and it's always a draw. Our rail is always a draw for our visitors.
How much do you rely on the weather?
As locals, we can be very focused on our weather, and one of the things when we had the Guild of Travel Writers here last year, I got the guys at the weather station to come and give us figures, and actually we're not any wetter or drier than Manchester or Glasgow or Dublin. In fact, we're drier than some of those, and Liverpool, we were compared favourably to Amsterdam in terms of wind. So I think it's something we build up in our own head where we talk about our weather, because it's not different than it is in the Lake District.
I think we've got to a target so far of 320,000. Is it? What are we aiming for this year?
Well, we've actually just got our numbers in for 2024. It was 330,000, which is
it's up 10,000.
Yes, exactly.
What's this year? What are you aiming for?
This year we're kind of playing it safe a little bit. We're looking for spend rather than actual more extra visitors, but we're very much focusing on what the long term and building the momentum up in the off season and the shoulder seasons.
How much of a chance do you think she's got about doing this? So we're 330,000, aiming for 500,000, all right? 170,000 more people coming to the Isle of Man. What should we do? And don't say rebuild White City. They've built flats there. What do we do?
Andy Wint.
From our castles to our cottages, our museums, and the Great Laxey Wheel. You'll find hidden treasures around every corner when you visit a Manx National Heritage Site. Fill your summer making treasured memories with Manx National Heritage. Sites now open every day. By visiting, you help protect our treasured island for generations to come. Plan your visit today at manxnationalheritage.im.
We're cooking with sunshine, cholera. We're washing with sunshine, cholera. We're heating with sunshine, cholera. The future looks good
With solar panels, battery storage and domestic wind turbines from Era Electrical, you can slash your electricity bills and recoup your investment in as little as 7 years. Call now to find out more.
676-544. It looks good.
Drive smarter. Drive more reliable. Drive a great deal at Mannin Motors. With a superb range of cars for every budget, always available. And if we don't have it, we'll source it. Plus, servicing, valeting and prestige detailing too. Mannin Motors, Richmond Hill, Douglas. Find us on Facebook or call 420 420. That's 420 420. Drive a better bargain at Mannin Motors.
Take some time out for yourself with the Manx Radio Breath podcast series with Karen.
The heat moves higher to your calves and to the back of your knees, up to your thighs. A warm feeling radiates to your tummy. All of a sudden, the sun comes from nowhere, transforming the sky to brilliant blue.
The Breath podcast series, online at manxradio.com. Brought to you by the Good Health Store, Port Erin, supplier of a range of health foods, supplements, eco-friendly cleaning materials and Manx produce. Visit us on Station Road, Port Erin.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
I see, says this correspondent, that they're now charging 20p at the loo. The back of the grandstand. What's going to happen during TT with the queue if nobody's got a 20p? We'll see. Adam's with us. Hi, Adam.
Hi, Randy. How are you today?
Very well, thanks, despite the weather.
Oh, that's good. Well, I'm actually in the south of England at the moment, and it's quite a beautiful day down here, Andy. So I'm just listening from away at the moment.
Very good. Thanks for nothing.
Cheers, Andy. What I'm ringing up about is... I was on the Visit Isle of Man website last night, having a look at it, and it's not available in German or Norwegian or any other language other than English. It's not a bad website, although it's not entirely focused on tourism. But it's not available in any other language, and also it's not aimed, these days we need to think beyond where our traditional tourists come from, the UK and Ireland. We need to think European. The Germans started coming to the Isle of Man. They loved it. Yeah. They really loved it. The Germans loved the Isle of Man. And the Norwegians are another market we could aim at, and the Swedish. And they also need to aim it at the North Americans and have a website which is dedicated to people coming from North America, and look at international travel and how we can help them travel internationally from the USA or Canada to Britain and then onwards to the Isle of Man.
Well, it will be interesting to know whether or not they pitch Dublin as a destination, i.e. flying from from Canada or the United States to Dublin and then to the Isle of Man from there. So it will, because lots of Americans end up in Ireland, and it's just a hop, skip and a jump to the Isle of Man from Ireland.
Yes, you could. I mean, they could do that, because there's all sorts of benefits, isn't there, of flying from America to Dublin. It's you get a much better deal, I think.
And also, you can clear customs in Dublin when you fly into America.
Right, yes. So therefore, that's something they need to put on there then, isn't it? They need to put on there that you can fly, or they need to look at what times the airlines fly at to see is there a decent connection to help people coming from further away. What I did think was good about the website, though, they had itineraries on there, suggested itineraries, and that was quite good. But the other market they could aim at is like China and places coming now, because the Chinese and the Japanese love sort of history, they love gardens, they love countryside.
And also, you're talking of Japanese, culture. Straight away we have a connection with the Japanese in the Honda team coming and living in Onken, staying in Onken for the TT. Sashiro and everybody, they came over, and the TT was pivotal to the development of Honda motorcycles. So there's an absolute connection to Japan there.
Yeah, there is, and China, and that's important too. Emerging sort of economies and developing countries, because I think the Cribs bloc, is it called? China, Russia, India, South Africa, and Brazil. They're obviously being targeted through the finance sector because all the roadshows they send are either to Hong Kong or to South Africa. So it makes sense to have tourists coming from those places as well. So why don't they put it in a variety of languages, target it at new markets, and stop looking at our old markets, which are no longer kind of. I mean, the UK is not very different to the Isle of Man. Let's face it. Many parts of the UK are very similar. People from the UK don't necessarily want to go on holiday to the Isle of Man anymore. We don't live in an age where there's factories in the north of England, all and they've all got a week off every year, and they all come over to the Isle of Man on their week off. That doesn't happen anymore. So we live in a totally different world, so I think they need to adapt to it better.
Okay, one thing I know, and I'll forgive me for mentioning this because I happen to know, but you're a sea swimmer, aren't you, Adam, when you're on the Isle of Man?
I am, yes.
I just wonder whether or not they pitch that to people, because our waters are comparatively blissful compared to lots of places around England, and I just wonder whether they pitched that to visitors coming here, because you very kindly sent me some photos sea swimming around Douglas, around the Tower of Refuge. So I mean, that in itself is a big offering to somebody who's interested in that.
Yes, it definitely is, and I'm down at Port Erin. There's some fabulous sea swimming. You can swim down. I've swum down from near Port St Mary down to the chasms before, and along down to the what's it called, the Sugarloaf. So there is some fabulous sea swimming, and I mean the thing to do, I think, is to probably get a company, try and attract a sea swimming company like Swim Trek or Swim Quest to come and do sort of swimming holidays in the Isle of Man, and because that way it's supervised and it's safe. But there is definitely fabulous sea swimming for people, but they do need to be in a group. You can't sort of do it on your own. Yeah. So therefore, it may not be the thing to advertise for people coming as individuals, but unless a business started up in the Isle of Man where they were running group sessions.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Appreciate it, Adam. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks, Andy. Bye-bye.
Good to hear from you. Best thing is to move the sea terminal to Castletown, says Mike, because Douglas is a dump. Well, everybody has to have an ambition. Thank you, Mike. On the subject of Ramsey, how's everybody doing today? Thank you, CC plus friends. Well, there's an election soon in Ramsey. I would urge you, if you're eligible to vote, then use your vote, use it wisely. Visitors walking on the prom have to look at the eyesore, which is part between Central Apartments and Clarence Terrace, which is covered in... Not very nice, says Stewie. Thank you for that. There's no natural gold in the Isle of Man. Have a look in the Eye Museum. 614. What about lithium? Is there any lithium? It's just hypothetical. If we did have natural resources, would they open the mines? There are 2 abandoned motorhomes in Lower Foxdale. Flat tyres and weeds everywhere. They're an eyesore, says 762. We went to Donegal County last week for a holiday. What a wonderful place. Everything about the place, the people, the views, the towns, the villages. I think the Isle of Man is looking towards the UK too much. They need to look to Ireland. The only thing that let it down was the steam packet timetable and the lack of sailings, says G. But Ireland does tourism, and it does it very well. Peter said, Andy, I travelled to Liverpool yesterday morning, was advised taxis available outside the new sea terminal. A taxi arrived, the driver advised all were pre-booked and I should cross the bridge and find a taxi rank. I walked to the old berth close to the Liver building, took a taxi, and driver there confirmed there's no taxi rank at the new terminal and commented on the cost of cost of what? Do the taxi drivers have to pay to be there like they do at the airport? That's Peter, and if you can fill me in on what the situation is with the taxis at the Princess Half-Tide dock, I'd really appreciate it. No government department would want the responsibility of storing motorhomes. There's too much money involved, says 753. And Gary says DEFRA have apparently said that it's the responsibility of the surveyor to get a licence if they think their actions may constitute a criminal offence. This is about Erie Stain. In what world would someone draw attention to their criminal actions by applying for a licence, and how does having a licence then presumably excuse criminal activity? DEFRA doesn't seem to want to take any responsibility. That full story, by the way, is at manxradio.com. Thank you, John. 557. A group of Japanese visitors were on the railways this week, and surprisingly, Americans came to the TT for 3 days. Thank you, Teddy, who says, we have many things on the Isle of Man that we could put together in tourist attractions. We got the Bee Gees. They came from the Isle of Man. They were born in the Isle of Man. Other towns and cities would cut their right arm off for a Bee Gee museum. We got the TT, that was Radio Caroline North, Norman Wisdom, George Formby, the internment camps. Well, I'm not sure about the internment. Anyway, you know. But that's it. Any thoughts? Text, email, call on WhatsApp. We're back on tomorrow. Open line.
WINT